let's set up a new Canvas class. I've logged on to Canvas, and you can go to wvc.instructure.com, or you can log on through the college's website, quick links, and then over to Canvas. I want to show you what a completed class looks like so you get an idea of what your goal is. So I've got my Math 146 summer class right here. I want to switch over to Student View, so I'm going to go ahead and click this. Canvas gives me a test student account, so I'm actually interacting in my class right now just like a student would. So I actually am a student right now. So this is exactly what your students see in this view. There are just a few of the navigation tools over here on the left. I only leave the ones that my students use. I also have my landing page showing a couple of the last announcements, as well as just sort of an introduction, welcome to the class page. So those are all things that you can set up. Let me leave Student View and go back to the dashboard. I'm going to grab one of my unpublished classes. So I'm down here in unpublished courses. I'm going to go ahead and grab this one and open it up, and it's going to take me to the default view. So the default view is this, and it's not super user friendly, although it does tell you that you want to start by creating a new module. But just to give you a little bit of the lay of the land, all of these navigation items over here will be seen by the student unless it has an eyeball with that little slash through it. But as soon as you put something in modules, modules will also show on that navigation tab. Remember, in my published class, only these top ones were viewed. We don't want students to see all of these items in navigation. It's just too much for them to sort through. I do want to create modules. Modules is actually the default landing page. So I'm going to leave modules as our default landing page to start. But the first thing I want to do is to go ahead and clean up my navigation. You can change your navigation as much as you want. You're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom and choose Settings. Once I'm in Settings, I want to go to Navigation. So in navigation, I have all of these possibilities here up in the top. These are all the ones that students will see. The ones in the bottom are the ones that students will not see. There might be a time when you want to take one of these. A lot of these are publisher specific that are attached to a textbook, but you might want to bring one of these up depending on what you're using. For starters, you want to leave the support resources here. Support resources has some really, really great campus resource tools for students, like registration, admissions, counseling, those sorts of student services. I'm going to go ahead and start at the top, though. The home, you don't have an option. I always leave announcements. You can leave an assignment list. This is if you want your students to be able to access assignments as a list. I have it set up so my students access assignments in the modules. If you leave assignments here, they'll be able to access both. Same with discussions. I like students to access those in the modules. So I'm going to actually hide discussions, and you can click the three dots and then say disable. And what it did is it automatically moved it down here. You can also move it down there yourself. So you can go ahead and take, if you want to move assignments, you can grab this and then move it down to the bottom. Less is definitely more. New analytics, this is something that is for instructor use, so you can pull that one down. Purchase course materials, you might have that information somewhere else. Google Drive, you can bring these back in any time you want. But for the most part, I just don't need a lot of these. Caption Hub, Panopto videos. If you're recording some Panopto videos, you want to have this here because you want it available to you as well. But you can always just bring it back up if you need to. Honestly, at this point, less is more. Just-in-time alerts. This one I hide and bring it back when I need it. You might just want to leave it here. Just-in-time alerts are a way of alerting a student and their advisor that they're not doing well. Let's see, I'm going to move chat and collaborations. I mean, this is a process, right? So you really want to get this cleaned up. Let me go to the class that I've got published. All I have left is home announcements modules, homework help videos. This is my own tab. Grades, which is a default tab, and then the free e-tutoring. And then I believe the support resources shows up at the bottom. So work through these, move them, change them as needed, visit your student view, and make sure that it is nice and clean. When you've got it the way you want, go ahead and hit save, knowing that you can always go back. I want to start not with the kind of fluffy fun things like in course details, like you can choose an image for your card. We'll do that later. What we really want to do is to add some content here. And I want to do that with modules. Notice how modules shows up pretty far down here. I can change that in navigation as well. I want modules to be towards the top. I want students to be able to navigate to modules and back pretty quickly. Same with grades. It's really nice to have grades up towards the top. Again, I didn't go through all of these, but I definitely want to move that one there. I'll go ahead and hit save. Now I want to add a module. Even if you're not using this for a fully online class, it's really nice to have a Canvas shell just as a place to throw some documents. So I'm going to go ahead and click Add Module, and I want this module to say Course Documents. This is a really great place to, say, drop a syllabus. Whenever I want to add something, I can just click the plus button and I can add any number of things. And maybe I want to add a file and I want to grab my syllabus. I'm going to click on Create File, choose Files. So it's going to look for a file from my computer. And of course, I've got just a bunch of screenshots here. If I go to my files, I realize this isn't my syllabus, but I'm going to go ahead and pick it anyway, and then just click Open, and you can indent that one if you want, and then add item. Okay, so remember we were pretending like this was my syllabus, and of course it isn't, but I can go ahead and change the name of this anyway. It might show up with a funky name. If I click the three dots and click Edit, I can change this into anything that I want, and I can write syllabus update. Another nice thing to add to a course documents page. Let's do another one. So this time I'm going to add a page, create page, and I want to call this one Your Instructor. And I can go ahead and edit this page. I can go ahead and add some information about myself. So I'm going to click Edit. It's going to bring up a rich text editor here, and I can say, my name is Angie Redman. And then down below, I can say office hours, daily, 10 to 11. And then not everyone knows what office hours is, so I can say stop by my office during this time for questions or just to visit. And then I can also include my email, and I can say, email me at aredman@wvc.edu, or drop me a message in the Canvas inbox. Maybe I also want to include a picture of myself. So I can go ahead and hit enter here, and then I want to add a photo. You can do insert, or you can grab the photo icon. So I'm going to click on images, and I'm going to upload an image. I think I've got some images under downloads and personal images. I am not always this organized. Okay, so there's a great picture of me. I'll do this one. Open. And I do want to, if you scroll down here, it gives an alt text. this is part of universal design. If you have a student who's using a screen reader, it will read the entire file name instead of saying that there's an image here. So I'm going to give some alternate text, and I'm going to say Angie in her office, or in her home office. Or you can just say Angie. It's also really helpful for a student that has a slow internet connection. If the images aren't loading, it will instead give them an image icon and this notation. So a really great habit to get into. I'm going to go ahead and click on Submit. And I think it's going to make my picture fairly large, and I don't want it to be that big. I also want it to load pretty easily for students. So I'm just going to grab one of the corners and then make it smaller. I can also center this. So I go to the three dots, find that formatting tool, and then center. Lots of different things that you can do here. So I can go to heading 4, heading 3. So you can change this in however you want. We talked a little bit about students that are using a screen reader. So I don't recommend that you do a bunch of space. So if you wanted to indent this a little bit, don't do space, 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 because the screen reader will read all of those spaces. If you wanted to indent, instead, go to the formatting tools and then choose the indent button. So just some things to kind of be aware of, really, really good habits to get into. So I've got this done here. I'm going to go ahead and do save and publish. And let's go ahead and add a discussion board. So I want to go back to my modules. Notice how the modules have the eyeball with a slash through it, which means it's not showing up. That's because this module that we added hasn't been published yet. This little circle right here has not been checked. I'm going to check it, so it's now going to be published. I want to add a discussion board. So let's do add discussion. Create topic, and this is introduce yourself. Add item. So this is a discussion board for my students. And you can just give any kind of directions you want. I want to show you how to put this onto the, it's going to give me my editor here in just a second. I want to show you how to put this into the calendar. So, share some information about yourself with your classmates. Down here, I can do options. I can add it to the student to-do list. And I can choose a date that I want them to do this by. This is just going to show up in the to-do list. It's not an assignment right now. So I can click done. So it's going to show up on their calendar on September 29th. And it's also going to show up, remember, over on the right-hand side with their to-do stuff. If I unclick this and I decide that I want to make this graded, then I'm going to click on graded, and I can go ahead and change the due date. So if I choose the due date and I make that September 27th, done, it will also show up now on their calendar. And I want to click save and publish. So we've added one module. We'll see how to do other things as well. But when you are working here, it's really helpful to do student view. So I'm going to go ahead and click on student view and get a feel for how it's looking so far. And I notice here that I've got maybe a few more. I don't want this big blue button there. So I've got a few more things that I want. I also have my own syllabus. I'm not going to use their syllabus. So at this point, I would leave student view. I would go back to settings and then continue to clean up that navigation.